Hi there. Thank you so much for joining us for the next edition of Meet the Author Showcase. I am so thrilled to be here with author Rachel Freeman, and she is a delight, but she has such a treat and she has a gift that she has given to the world with her book. And so without further ado, I am going to introduce Rachel Freeman. And so Rachel, welcome and thank you, and show us that beautiful book that you have put out into the world and tell us all about it.
Right. Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my book called The Hunger. It is a compilation of poetry that I had created, written, sat on for 10 years before putting it out. It chronicles my recovery through an eating disorder, not just one disorder. It was multiple disorders all in one. I'm a human being, I'm messy, and it talks about everything from my battle with anorexia, restriction, constantly thinking about food. I was also an exercise bulimic. My best friend was at the time on hardcore drugs, in and out of rehab. So there's a whole section about other kinds of addiction, not just food addiction. It also chronicles this idea of my yearning and wanting to know more and connecting to something greater than myself with spirituality, and never giving up. And still, no matter how far I felt like I needed to come, I was still striving to be a better version of myself and be career driven. So it's broken into multiple chapters, all through poetry. And I mean, this is like my baby.
I totally understand that. I don't think I've met an author yet that hasn't, referred to at some point in the time of the book as it being their baby, because it's just like birthing a baby. And what a beautiful heart you have that you wanted to share this journey, which I'm sure was incredibly painful at times. And how awesome it is that you've been willing to be so vulnerable and so open about what's happened for you.
Thank you. I mean, while it's my story, I definitely believe that there's so many people who can find their story within my story. Mm-hmm. And that's another reason why I started writing poetry, was because it's smaller versions of a longer story and people can connect on so many different levels. And as a teacher, I'm currently teaching poetry to 5th grade students. And I explain to them that whatever perspective you're coming from as you're reading a poem, you take away something different than somebody sitting next to you. So I just think it's going to resonate with readers on so many different levels. If it wasn't a personal experience for them, but they know somebody who went through an eating disorder or had been battling with their own demons, it's not, as I said, not just about me, it's about the human connection.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I am sure that there have been many humans that have connected with this book in many ways. But I have the feeling that you've probably gotten some pretty interesting, if nothing else, feedback from your readers. Is there a review, or is there something that somebody shared with you that really touched you in a way that you would want to share with us?
Yeah, definitely. So it's interesting because I didn't ever really think to look at the reviews because I was always afraid, what if it's a bad review? But I'm blown away because it's something new that I've done by looking at these reviews. And this person, my book actually came out right before the COVID closures. And in the middle of COVID, September 2020, someone had written this review, and it's incredible. A series of poems I keep coming back to, yearnings and the stories that unfold parallel to the service of them. The title hints at the satisfaction or unsatisfaction, as it were, and the ensuing poems allow one to explore and meditate upon the inner grappling of something not full. These poems strike pretty consistently to the core of the human search for satisfaction, with its joys, pains, and mundanities, and I appreciate that they do so while not dictating or preaching its attainability. Sometimes playful, sometimes searing. Good stuff.
I love it. I love it. And I can tell the smile on your face as you were reading. I can tell how much it meant to you.
It's incredible. I don't really talk about this book a lot or enough because I had it for so long and never put it out there because I was too afraid of having the people closest to me really understand what I was going through. Mm-hmm. But then at the end of the day, it really wasn't about them and protecting them from having other people know what was going on with me. It was more for others to connect with it.
I love that. So, you sat on this book for 10 years. And that's a long time to sit on a book. Not unusual, however, there's many authors that have that amount of time. So why did you release it when you did? Why was it finally time?
I'm very big on energy and gut feelings, and things just kind of happen as they do, and you don't really know why the universe does what it does. Mm-hmm. And I remember getting a direct message on Instagram from a publishing company, and they were like, we really like your stuff. Can you just send a few pieces? And I was like, I have a manuscript of 120. And within 24 hours, I had this contract. I mean, the publishing company is now no longer, but I was amazed. And the best part about it was I was actually in the hallway of a doctor's appointment. I was taking my 88-year-old grandmother to the doctor. So she was the first person I got to share this information with. And it kind of brought everything back full circle for me, because there was a time when we were on an airplane and I was in the middle of writing this book, or at least putting it all on, typing it all out. And in the middle of the flight, my computer died and everything got erased. And she's like, I love my grandma. She's very just to the point. She's like, Rachel, well, not everything you write is that important. And I was like, okay, grandma, thank you. And it never stopped me. It just actually encouraged me to keep writing. And it was some of those words that were not typed out or that got lost in translation, literally, that made it into the book. And then she was the first person that I was with when I was able to say, hey, the world is going to see these words that might not be important to some people, but and so it was great. And I'm all about everything coming full circle and things working out how they're supposed to.
That's awesome. I love that. So if you could tell your readers one thing that they should know about your book, what would it be?
My book is raw. And I say that because it really touches on these human emotions that bring us all together, because it at its core is literally it's almost like reading a diary that has been written in poetry. And there are pieces that could be a little jarring if you are going through your own recovery. There are pieces that can be extremely uplifting and empowering. Mm-hmm. And then there are going to be those pieces that are like, whoa, I never thought of life like that, or I never thought that so-and-so in my life could be experiencing something like that. So I want the readers to pick it up, and you literally can just flip through and just pick a poem. You don't even have to go through it cover to cover. And that's what's so great about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm sensing a theme that the book title is The Hunger. And I know that you have a website that's Hunger to Live, right?
I'm Hungry with the number 2 Live. Yes.
Right. And you have a podcast that's coming out that is of the same title, correct?
I do. Yes, I have. I just launched a podcast, but that's not really what this show's about. It's just the podcast itself is stories of humans who have overcome something and have still become successful in their pursuit of whatever it is. So if you have a story and you want to share it, you on my website.
That's awesome. Now, hunger, eating disorders, get it totally, but hungry to live. So can you tell us a little bit about what that means to you?
So hungry to live, um, it's so multi-layered. I remember funny story, I named this book before it was even written, because I was at a sleepaway camp and it was spiritually related, and they asked us what we would call our higher power. And I was like, my higher power is the hunger. And they were like, what do you mean? And I was like, my hunger is what is propelling me forward, what's keeping me asking questions, what's keeping me from doing certain things or wanting certain things. And it wasn't just this literal, like, I'm hungry, because at the time that was when I was in recovery, but it was just this yearning for so much more. And being hungry to live for me is just this idea of always wanting the next best thing and always knowing that there's something more than where I am. And so staying hungry to live for me is not only following my dreams, but helping other people get to where they need to be to understand that everything that they are feeling, everything that they are wanting is attainable and valid.
I love it. Thank you so much for that. I am going to ask you next if somebody wanted to know how you spend your free time. What's your favorite thing to do when you're not writing this amazing poetry?
Whew, that's a loaded question. I love to travel.
Nice.
I love to be in the sun. I mean, to be honest, so I'm also a special ed teacher, and relaxing. Like, I never knew what it meant to be able to relax until COVID hit. And then I was like, oh, this is relaxing. Not that I'm saying I relaxed during all of COVID. That is not what happened. But
we know you were a teacher. There was no relaxing there.
Not only was I teaching full time, I was getting my master's full time online. I was in an intensive inpatient program. Like, I mean, that hunger to keep going was like right there, and I was just doing so much. But then there were times when I was like, I just need to relax. I need to pull back. And so something that's so important for me is just connecting to the world around me and having awareness, and just really being one with myself and one with nature. I know that sounds very like hippy dippy, but like I love to be at the beach. I love to go on hikes. I just love to be outside and absorb everything that is natural. And I mean, it might be like grounding myself, literally having my feet on the ground and just being one with everything. And that's honestly my favorite thing.
I love that. I love that. A little bit easier to do in California. Here in Cleveland, when there's snow on the ground and it's cold, I was reading an article the other day about grounding and going outside barefoot. And I was like, yeah, no, not right now. It's cold. The people that want you to do that don't live in the cold. That's awesome. So you have just intrigued me so much and inspired me in so many ways. And I know that there are listeners and readers out there that would love to connect with you. How is the best way for them to connect?
The best way for them to connect with me is on my website, hungry2live.com. Okay. The listeners and readers can either send me a message or they can subscribe to my blog. There's so many different ways for them on my website to connect with me.
Awesome. And I'm sure they can get the information about your podcast there as well. Mm-hmm. And are you on social media? You had mentioned Instagram earlier.
Yes. Also on social media, hungry.2.live.
Okay. Awesome. All right. That's fantastic. So I'm closing all of our Meet the Author interviews with the question about your stripes of power. So, our stripes of power are those decisions that we make that empower us or leave us empowered. And I was wondering if you could share one of yours with us.
Yeah, I guess one of my stripes of power is to always give back. I know that sounds very cliche, but working with kids, it's so important for me to provide children a space to be themselves and also let them understand that their uniqueness is what makes them so powerful.
Yeah.
And to always let them know that having adults in their life, to bounce back ideas or to continually encourage them is what is so important. And so I like to, I guess, just my stripes of power are just literally giving back to the younger generation, because I think they're taken for granted way more than they should be. And they're super smart and they absorb everything. And just letting them know that they're important can set the foundation for so many great things down the line.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for that share. It was awesome. Well, Rachel, I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much for being here. Is there any parting words that you want to share before we say goodbye to our viewers today?
All I can say is you're important and your story is important. So don't ever think that your voice is too small to help inspire other people.
Awesome. You're the best. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And thank you for joining us today on the next episode of Meet the Author Showcase. And stay tuned for the next time. Bye for now.